You know, there's a line that stretches for nearly 2,000 miles, cutting through deserts, mountains, and cities. It's way more than just a border. It's the line that divides two completely different worlds, the United States and Mexico.
But we're not just talking about a geographical line here. It's the site of a huge and hugely controversial idea that has been all over the news for years: the wall.
Okay, so before we can even get into all of the debate and the controversy, we really have to understand the line itself. Because this divide, it's so much more than a mark on a map. It's a place that's just loaded with history, tension, and a ton of meaning.
Just try to wrap your head around that for a second. We're talking nearly 2,000 miles. And for decades, that line has meant so many different things to so many different people. For some, it's a beacon of hope, a chance for a new life. For others, it's the start of a dangerous, difficult journey. And for a lot of folks in politics, it's a constant point of conflict. Well, all that simmering tension, it eventually boiled over and became a massive political promise. Back in 2016, the idea of building a huge barrier along the border, well, it became the defining issue of the day.
And the goals, at least on paper, were pretty straightforward. The argument from proponents was that a wall would make the country safer by stopping illegal immigration, cutting down on crime, and protecting American jobs.
But here's the thing. Once that idea was really out there, it became crystal clear that this was about way more than just concrete and steel. It kicked off a massive debate about our politics, our identity, and what our national priorities should even be. And that brings us right to the core of the whole controversy. Does a wall, or really any kind of physical barrier, actually do what it's supposed to do?
I mean, that's the big question, right? It's what experts, politicians, and everyday people are all debating. And remember, we've had sections of border barriers for years, so what does the data actually tell us?
The whole debate really boils down to two competing ideas. On one side, you have people who say that, yeah, barriers might not be perfect, but they work as a deterrent. They physically slow people down, and that makes it easier for law enforcement. But then, on the other side, critics say they don't actually stop anyone, they just push people into more dangerous, treacherous areas, like the middle of the desert, which makes the journey that much deadlier.
So at the end of the day, the conversation often comes back to this one fundamental point: human will. When people are driven by desperation or hope, they will almost always find a way around a physical wall. And that idea of determination leads us to something that often gets completely lost in all the political shouting matches: the personal experiences of the real people at the heart of this entire story. You know, it's so easy to get caught up in the numbers and the policies, but it's so important to remember that behind every single one of those statistics, there's a person, a real human story with its own reasons, its own fears, and its own dreams. And the journey itself can be absolutely brutal. People face extreme heat, dangerous conditions. They literally risk their lives to either get away from violence and poverty or to chase the dream of a better future. And for the ones who actually make it across, crossing the border is usually just the very first step in a much, much longer struggle. And the consequences of these policies are just profound. They can lead to families being ripped apart, to lives being put on hold, all while people are caught in this incredibly complex system that can take years to figure out. So, of course, beyond the very real human impact, you've got the massive financial and political firestorm that surrounded the wall from day one. The price tag is just staggering. I mean, look at that. We're talking billions and billions of taxpayer dollars. And naturally, that sparks a huge debate about whether it's even a good investment. And when you're talking about that much money, you basically get two very clear opposing camps. Supporters will tell you that you just can't put a price tag on national security. But critics, they call it a wasteful vanity project and argue that money could be spent way more effectively on other things. And this is where the whole thing becomes bigger than just a budget issue. The wall stopped being just a policy proposal. It completely transformed into this powerful symbol of our deep political and cultural divides. For some, it represents security and strength. For others, it's a symbol of division and hostility.
So, as we start to wrap this up, all of these tangled threads, the politics, the costs, the human stories, they all lead us to a much bigger, more fundamental question.
And that's really what it's all about, isn't it? A wall can definitely divide a piece of land. But can a physical barrier, no matter how tall or how long, actually solve the root causes that make people leave their homes in the first place?
Because here's the reality. Immigration is an incredibly complex thing.
It's all woven together with economics, with history, with basic human needs and desires. It's not the kind of problem you can fix with a simple physical solution.
And all of that leaves us with one last kind of provocative thought to chew on.
Think about it. Can a line, whether it's drawn in the sand or built out of steel, truly stop one of the most fundamental forces in all of human history? That's the question that's still hanging in the air long after the political speeches are over.